Good morning. Can I just say firstly thanks for coming out in the rain to see this wonderful new development and extension of Auckland Airport. Obviously it's fantastic to see more infrastructure being built. It's why the government's been very focused on accelerating and bringing forward $7 billion worth of infrastructure projects before Christmas. Examples like we see here, like we're seeing with New Zealand International Convention Centre, the CRL investments, the Eastern Busway developments as well. I think all of that bodes well for the future of Auckland, that we're going to have a city that's got really modern, reliable, functioning infrastructure that's going to enable economic productivity and growth, which is what it's all about. But with that, happy to take your questions.
Prime Minister, you ranked 15th in today's meeting, the Boardroom survey. What do you make of that and the assessment New Zealand's chief executives seem to have given to you?
Well, there's no doubt about it. We're going through a very difficult recovery. It's been a very challenging time for New Zealand. There are a number of businesses that are doing well, others that are struggling. I fully understand, everyone wants it to happen quicker and faster. We as a government have to focus on what we need to focus on, which is actually creating the conditions for growth. That's why we're investing in education and science and technology and getting rid of the red tape and trade and investment and obviously infrastructure. But then it's up to the businesses to go out and actually create that growth as well. But look, I fully understand, we're going through a very difficult recovery, and there'll be a range of opinions across all of our society around that.
For them to say that you may not be spending enough time listening to what New Zealand's business leaders think, that you entered Parliament with somebody said the best Rolodex that anyone ever had going to the beehive, and that you haven't used it?
Well, I mean, I do engage with a lot of business leaders up and down the country. Obviously, the business community is pretty broad. There's small, medium enterprise businesses, which I spend time with, a number of senior business leaders that have been very generous in coming away with delegations and trade delegations with me, often meeting one-on-one and actually getting a sense of what's happening in their industry. But, for us, what we have to do as a government is we've got to create, competitive markets. We need to make sure that we are getting rid of red tape, and we've got to make sure that we are accelerating trade and investment, building out the infrastructure, education, as I just said. So our job is to focus on building the conditions for growth. I fully acknowledge, as I've said before, it's a two-speed recovery at the moment, and some of our businesses are doing very well in that recovery. Think primary industries having record years. Go down to Christchurch, the South Island, Hawke's Bay, where we're seeing huge growth and people benefiting from the benefits of growth. Farmer confidence at an all-time high. But equally, as I've been saying, if you're based here in Auckland and Wellington, it's been a much more challenging time. We need to get the recovery coming through. It will come through, but it's just a frustration for everybody that it's not coming as fast as it needs to.
Some of these business leaders are saying you're a poor listener and you don't take constructive feedback well. How do you take that feedback?
Well, look, I mean, I have a lot of engagements with business leaders. I've obviously come from, as a CEO of a corporate background, and I understand, that there are, I try and listen to those views as best as I possibly can. But my job as Prime Minister of New Zealand is to create the conditions for growth and to actually think about the 5 million people that are in this country, not just the 150 that are filling in the survey.
Is it time for a new economic strategy?
Well, I think we need to probably keep working at communicating our economic strategy. It's pretty simple. We're here to build the best small country on earth. The way that we do that economically is we've got to lift the living standards of all New Zealanders. We do that through what we call our Going for Growth agenda: education, science, technology, red tape, infrastructure, trade and investment. And those are the 5 things we know if we can lift our intensity in each of those areas, that's what will lift the living standards for all New Zealanders.
Do you worry you've lost the backing of the
Sorry?
business community? Do you worry you've lost the backing of the business
No.
Erica Stanford ranked number 1. What do you make of that? Is she after your job?
Oh, well, we're actually a team, and that's what we built. And when we rebuilt the National Party after our period of dysfunction, and we did that in opposition, and I think we built back a very fast recovery to find a way to win in 2023 after the disaster of 2020. We decided we were going to play as a team, and that means we put my job as the Prime Minister and as the leader of the team is to make sure I've got the right people in the right positions on the team at the right time, with enough clarity and support to go off and do the tasks they need to do. So, I'm very proud of, the national ministers that I think are all performing exceptionally well. I'm also very proud of the fact that we have made a coalition work and given strong and stable government to New Zealand, and that's something I'm very proud of.
One piece of criticism and feedback that the people in the survey had was that you need to stand down. Will you?
No. I'm here to do a job. I came to politics 4 years ago because this is an awesome country. It's got fantastic potential, and we're damn well going to go make it get realised. Not at all.
Prime Minister, the Aviation Industry Association has suggested there might need to be more independent oversight of Airways New Zealand, and I think both the other ministers have heard about this story. Do you have confidence in James Young as Chief Executive of Airways New Zealand, and do you think the public should have confidence in him after the information that was provided provided to RNZ, and the software fault turned out.
Well, look, I'm going to let John,
state-owned
let Simeon talk to it as state-owned enterprise.
Yeah, look, there's our expectation is very clear. There needs to be a full audit on what happened and review of what happened during that incident, and also their communications post the incident, because quite clearly their communications was lacking, and they need to be fully transparent about that. So that's the expectation we've set very clearly of Airways.
How confident are you that they will follow?
Oh, absolutely, very confident that that's what they will do. Clearly there was an incident that took place. Passengers were impacted, and that obviously has a reputation on the work that Airways does. Our expectation as my expectation as shareholding minister is that they go through a full review process, learn from that, and fix from their mistakes. But also their communication approach post the incident and during the incidents was clearly lacking, and they need to fix that.
How confident are you? How confident can New Zealanders be that long term?
Oh, look, I think
our air traffic control infrastructure is up to scratch.
Look, I think very confident. I think Airways, by and large, does a great job. These incidents do happen from time to time. Our expectation is that they address those issues and fix them, learn from them, and also focus on their communications, which were clearly lacking and inadequate during that incident. Prime Minister, have you had a chance to watch Donald Trump's speech to the United Nations?
I saw clips of it this morning very early.
What do you make of it?
Look, it's not language that we would use. I think there is, we believe very strongly in the international rules-based system. Part of that is working in a multilateral way with other countries. Bodies like the UN are very important, but I also agree that the UN needs serious reform, and that's something that we've talked about for a long time here in New Zealand as well.
And would you like to comment on Auckland Council's vote on housing intensification today? Is that something that's on your radar?
There's a lot on my radar today. That is certainly one of the issues, but it's one of many. But again, what we're trying to do there is to make sure that we can get houses built in this country, and ultimately those are decisions for Auckland Council to work their way through.
Prime Minister Tory Whanau says she might run the Green Party, until to Parliament.
Keep secret.
If Tory Whanau was to join the Green Party, what sort of difference would that make to the Green Party? Would it improve them, make them a better party, and
At least
make them
Tory.
a
Well, I
party you
think-
might work with?
Well, I won't comment on. She's free to do what she wishes to do, but I just say, I think the alternative scenario of a Labour Party and Chris Hipkins sitting around a cabinet table with a Marama Davidson and a Chloe Swarbrick and a Rawari and a Debbie is a recipe for more spending, more taxes, more borrowing, and you've heard that very strongly from all three parties. And I just think that is not the prescription that New Zealand needs as we dig ourselves out of a very challenging, recession, and we're making great progress. We have the right economic plan when we need to now follow this through and get this job done for New Zealanders.
On surcharges, 36 industry and business associations have signed an open letter calling for the ban to be dropped. What's your reaction to that? Would you reconsider the ban?
No, we're a country that doesn't have a culture of tipping or surcharges. If you travel around the world, you'll often see that. Lots of below the line, charges that then get loaded up onto prices. We want to see maximum transparency. I think the thing that's got a little bit lost is that the Commerce Commission has mandated the card companies to lower their fees to business owners. We just want, and we know there has been some inconsistent and overcharging and recovery of surcharges. So all we want to do is just look. We've got a value set in New Zealand, which is we have very transparent pricing. We don't want to see a growth in surcharges and other add-ons. We want to be able to say that the price you see is the price you're going to pay, and I think that's just the New Zealand way. It's not the way around in other countries around the world. So we're going to make sure those effective changes come in with the Commerce Commission. I think December the 1st, and obviously then we're carrying on our work as we come out of Select Committee to try and implement the ban on surcharges as quickly as possible.
Prime Minister, why will it take the Education Ministry 10 years to update its payroll system to comply with the new reforms that came out the other day?
Those would be questions to direct to education. I think there are things that the Ministry of Education is doing is really step changed on. I was very pleased to announce we've got $413 million, I think, of new investment coming in to actually upgrade the property stock. Simeon announced $100 million for our medical and hospital infrastructure around the country as well to get the renewals and the maintenance activity done, which of course creates opportunities for our tradies as well. So, if I think about the way the property portfolio has been managed in education, it's been really fantastic. Cost of a classroom by using standardised models and off-site modular building. has almost halved. And of course, with that same amount of money, we can now provide double the amount of classrooms. And so there are some really good things that the Ministry of Education has been doing, and I just direct that to them.
Minister, what do you make of the current tourist levy? Do you think it's too high or too low? Some of the cruise ship operators have just arrived this week and still complaining about that particular levy that went up from $35 to $100 last year.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think there'll be lots of people arguing it's a challenge or it's not a challenge. You've got to remember there's a world out there of 8 billion people, and when you see probably 40 million Americans have New Zealand on their bucket list of places they want to visit, and maybe in a good year we get up to 300,000 of them actually coming. That is not the reason for why they do not come to New Zealand. They come here because it's a fantastic tourism product and a fantastic tourism experience. It's been fantastic to see cruise industry kick up and start up again this week. That's been due to some very good work from Minister Upston and also working with the cruise industry partners and leaders as well, working through practical things like biofouling and other things that they've had to work their way through. So look, tourism is recovering. It's been good to see that. There's some markets we want to see more effort in. A big part of that, again, is the government investment in major events so that we can get more tourists here, spending more of their money in bars, hospitals and other attractions.
Wouldn't a bed tax help to have more events in Auckland? Some people suggest it would.
Well, again, when we're spending $70 million, we've got probably half the population in Greater Auckland. We expect that a lot of those events are going to come to this country, to the city anyway. We've also loosened some of the criteria around local government jointly co-funding with central government on attracting those events. We've seriously step-changed our approach to it and reset it after 15 years to say we're putting more money on the table so it's competitive with Queensland and similar population states, and we're also making sure we loosen up the criteria so that we can expand it out to concerts, and we've got more flexibility around local government funding as well. Adam.
The airport, how far down the list is better public transport links from the airport to the city centre or for a next term government? I mean, is it how far in your list of priorities?
Yeah, I mean, it's high on our priorities because ultimately, the linkage to the convention centre and the airport becomes quite critical. And actually that corridor, if you just think about things like the Waterview Tunnel and what that has meant before we had that, if you think about what's happening with the Eastern Busway from Botany into obviously joining up with the city, but ultimately the airport to Botany link becomes very important as well. So, that's why I say I feel really, I lived in Sydney in the mid-90s and I watched that city, densify, I watched that city become more dynamic by virtue of investments in infrastructure. And by the time you've got a world-class airport, which is emerging here, that we should feel very proud about, creating the right first impression for visitors to New Zealand, but also practically with those transport links being stronger. And just think the CRL, think Eastern Busway, airport to Botany, how that can come together. And then you arrive in the New Zealand International Convention Centre and you can connect to 1,000 hotel rooms in a very short distance and jump on a CRL tube line. Pretty cool. So it's...
Light rail,
Sorry?
not a light rail, though.
As you know, light rail was a project that was a phantom project, I'd say. Sadly, we spent $300 million in 6 years wasting time and didn't build a single metre of track, sadly. So, but we can strengthen our transport links. As you know, we've got a big program of transport links here. Even the $800 million plus in level crossings work that we talked about a few weeks back is all designed to make it more seamless and easier to get around the city. Introducing congestion pricing and having that optionality there for the council to deploy to manage traffic flows. All of those things, I think, we're on a good trajectory, and I think it's going to be a pretty exciting city over the next 10 years.
How soon can we see you announce something around that, though?
Around what?
Around connecting the airport with the city better?
Well, it's on, we've talked about our roads of national significance. We've talked about our key transport projects here in Auckland. We've obviously got the Eastern Busway. Simeon and I will be...
You've already announced those ones.
Well, sure, but we've also got a whole program of work that we've announced and we're working our way through it. You would have seen yesterday, for example, we've got Otaki to north of Levin, which is a big investment in the lower North Island. It's now joining up Transmission Gully and all of that transportation.
Yes, we are talking about Auckland Airport.
Sure, and what we're saying is airport to Botany, a major project that's on our radar. We've got to then get the funding in place and get that moving and up and running. Eastern Busway, completing that task is really important because you want to be able to go from Botany into the central city in 39 minutes through a combination of bus and train. The CRL, we've got to get that closed out and finished and open next year. So the pieces are all there, and with infrastructure, as you know, with the airport, that we're having to think decades ahead and get that demand forecasting and planning right. But I just say to you, look, the city is by the time we got a world-class airport, by the time we have a world-class convention centre, and then we can go out to the world and say to them, come and bring your conference to New Zealand, and know that you can get your team from the airport to the city in a pretty seamless way. It's pretty good.
Prime Minister, who are you picking to be the next Reserve Bank Governor?
Again, we'll have a comment. We'll have, no comment until we have a formal announcement of that very, very shortly.
If the Reserve Bank Governor came up to you and said, I grant you one wish, what would you ask?
I respect the independence of the Reserve Bank. I know we've got an outstanding Reserve Bank Governor to be announced, and I think it's going to go down very well with New Zealanders and the sector.
Just out of interest, what's Erica Stanford doing right that Christopher Luxon isn't doing right?
Oh, well, I just say to you, politics is a team sport, and the key thing is everyone's got a clear brief. If I think about the work that Simeon's been doing on healthcare, putting more money in, more staffing in, and clarity around the targets. The great work Erica's been doing on structured literacy, structured numeracy, NCA replacement. I think about the work that Nicola Willis is doing, cleaning up our balance sheet and our terrible set of finances, and doing that work. Chris Bishop on infrastructure. I go through the whole list. Mark Mitchell on law and order, Paul Goldsmith. I'm really proud of our team. And the job of a Prime Minister is that we play a team sport here. And yes, I'm captain and I play a position on the team, but I can't be the winger or the prop as well. And it's important that I put the right people on the right assignments at the right time with enough clarity about my expectations of what they're there to deliver. So I'm very, very proud of our team and what they're doing.
So for those business leaders that say you're not providing the Northern Star or the vision for the country, what do you say to them?
Pretty clear vision. We're going to build the best damn small country on earth, and the way that we do that and lift the living standards of New Zealanders is a big effort on education, technology, red tape, infrastructure and trade and investment.
Yeah.